Happy Monday, everybody. Hello to the Moon Tribe. And just wanted to shout out that we are over 1,500 now in this group, and that's really exciting. We haven't even been here that long, and the numbers are growing, so that's really exciting. And I'm happy to be walking with all of you. It's always exciting to see who's posting and to read your shares. And just know that this is a place for you to get more support. Hi, Sue, welcome. And to ask your questions, to gather resources, and to also, ask about your chart, ask about what your needs are. So today we're going to do what we always do on Monday, check in with the transits ahead and check in with the moon for the days ahead. We also have a new moon this week, and I want to touch on that. This is coinciding with a partial solar eclipse. It closes the eclipse portal, this gap between lunar and solar eclipses. And so this is significant. Some may be feeling the intensity. Hi, Lisa, welcome. Some may be feeling the intensity of this closure, and some may be feeling the release. So I'm curious to hear what your experiences are. I also have my angel deck. This was actually my mom's oracle deck. And I always used to kind of tease her a little bit about the angels, but I pulled it out the other day, and it's really sweet. And it's actually really powerful. So I am going to pull a card from this deck, and it makes me think of my mom as well. She really liked angels. Angels aren't so much my thing, but I appreciate them. And I think they have a lot to share with us. So, yeah, we'll do that. And I want to invite you to pull out your Jyotish chart, follow along, and ask any questions that may be showing up. I'm feeling better, so there should be less hacking today, hopefully. And, yeah, less sneezing. So, we're going to start with the moon transits. Right now, moon is finishing up its transit through Sagittarius and Purva Ashada Nakshatra. This is a constellation that has to do with Aditi, the water goddess. So, locate in your chart where Sagittarius is, the number 9. This is where moon is finishing up. Remember, over the past few days, moon has been conjunct Saturn, the planet of grief. So you may have felt some of that intensity over the past few days, and now the pressure is lessening. Moon shifts into the final constellation of Sagittarius, Uttar Ashada, later this afternoon, and moves to the edge of Sagittarius. And later this evening, more around 8:30 Mountain Time, moon moves into Capricorn, joining Ketu and Mercury here. And remember, we've talked about the Kalasarpa yoga that was taking place over these past many months, many weeks, and planets that are crossing Ketu and then literally falling out of the tail of the serpent or the tail of the dragon, are getting restructured. Anything that touches Ketu gets released, transformed, restructured. So we've already seen Venus get this restructuring, a release. We've had this taking place with Sun this past week very intensely. And that will shift today as Sun moves into Aquarius. Mercury is getting deconstructed and restructured right now, and then will shift. And Moon is going to be doing this in the first part of the week. So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, Moon, the emotional body, is getting this restructuring and release happening. So you may be feeling this on the emotional body level. Excuse me. I lost you for a second. So noticing the release taking place on the emotional body level in the coming days as well. And that's happening in conjunction with the mental body. So what's interesting about this restructuring happening right now and leading up to Wednesday and the new moon is that this whole eclipse portal really exemplifies the release of mental and emotional bodies. The full moon and the lunar eclipse took place in Ravadhi Nakshatra, which has a lot to do with the mental body, but in the sign of Cancer, which is very much about the emotional body. So we're in kind of a climax of that as Mercury and Moon move through this conjunction with K2. So just be noticing in the first part of the week, what's happening mentally, what are the stories showing up, and then emotionally, what are some of the emotions that need to be released? And I want to encourage you to just keep supporting that release process. Tapping is really good for that mental, emotional body work. So Moon is in Uttara Ashada late this evening until Tuesday afternoon. Hi Tiffany, welcome. And working with Uttara Ashada is very much about integrity and right action, making choices that are very dharmic, in right relationship with your path and your purpose. These are truth seekers. And like I said, very much about integrity. Sun is the ruling planet for this constellation, and Sun is in fragile degrees Monday and Tuesday as he shifts into a new sign. So just be mindful that the Sun is somewhat vulnerable and even a little confused about where he lands. And that's going to impact the feeling level. So late Tuesday afternoon, Moon shifts into Shravana, and this constellation has to do with Dharma and Vishnu. The process of taking action steps to support one's Dharma. Remember that Moon is still conjunct with K2 and Mercury at this time, and receiving gaze from Rahu. So some confusion is going to be present, some mental uncertainty. There's a very fragile mind in the coming days, and this is part of the release taking place. So we kind of have to touch that very fragile, vulnerable part of ourselves in order to support the release process. So be noticing that in conjunction with your Dharma as well. Okay, so on Wednesday, late in the evening, Moon will move into Dharma Nakshatra. Mercury now has moved away from Ketu and Moon, and everything that's been happening in Capricorn over the last few weeks and month is now shifting into Aquarius. And what's interesting about Aquarius is that it's a process of gain and release. So we often call the 11th house, which correlates to Aquarius, the house of gains. But we can't really gain without losing first and making space. So this is a process of, over the coming weeks, we're shifting more into clearing and releasing in order to invite in and allow the new. Aquarius is also like the breaking point before the release that takes place in Pisces. So think of it sort of like the dam breaking. The pressure that's been building over the past many weeks in Capricorn will find its release in this next cycle with Aquarius. So the moon is supporting this release. We'll feel that on Wednesday with the new moon, and Sun and Mercury have now shifted into Aquarius at that point, and so we begin this whole new cycle. And I'll say more about that shortly. So, from late Wednesday to Thursday, late evening on Thursday, Moon is in Dharma. This has to do with the light, bringing Jyoti, the light. So it's about shining. So step into the light, find ways to shine, to share, to connect through your light. Late Thursday, Moon shifts into Satabhisha Nakshatra. And this constellation has a lot to do with the critic, being seen, seeing everything, and this can intensify the critical gaze. Satabhisha times require stringency with health. When the moon transits Satabhisha, there is a need for more physical support. It's a time to be mindful of your diet and your routine, and to not fall off the wagon. So come back to your diet and your Ayurvedic recommendations in order to be in right relationship with Varuna, who sees all. By Thursday, Moon has shifted into Aquarius with Mercury, Sun, and Venus. Hi, Sue. Hi, Bernice. Welcome. So remember that the moon is magnifying. So it's magnifying the mind, the body, and vitality. Thursday through Saturday. And the body's going to need some extra support. Moon is in Satabhisha Nakshatra throughout Friday, and has moved through this close conjunction with Mercury, Sun, and Venus on Friday. So remember that mindfulness. There'll be a critical gaze around mind and body vitality. This will impact relationships, even the spiritual body. And so try to be gentle with yourself and others, knowing that others are going to be feeling this but may not have the resources or the inner awareness to navigate. So on Saturday, Moon moves to Purva Bhadrapada. This is a constellation that has to do with diving very deeply into unconscious and subconscious realms. So spend time in that process. Spend time in meditation, outside, contemplation. Saturday is a day for inward reflection. And by late Saturday, early evening, Moon will shift into the final sign of the zodiac, Pisces. And this is a completion. So there's, by the end of the week, by Sunday, we're finishing up this release process. We're finding those final moments in this past cycle. The moon moves around the zodiac through each sign roughly every 2.5 days. So a monthly cycle is roughly 28 days. And we're finishing this past cycle up. We'll have the new moon on Wednesday. And we're finishing up now a cycle of the moon through all 12 signs as well. So notice the completion that's taking place within you as well. And on Sunday, so Moon has shifted into early Sunday, into Pisces, and then moves into the latter half of the Bhadrapada, which is Uttara. And Uttara has to do with, so I misspoke actually. Purva Bhadrapada, Saturday, is more about balance and integration. Sunday, when we move into Uttara Bhadra, it's about the diving deep. So I'm sorry, I misspoke. On Saturday, we're working more with Ajaya Kapada, which is the realm of Shiva, Lord of the Dance. There really is this recognition of moving in and out of different worlds and needing to integrate that dynamic of difference and opposing forces, polarities. The latter half of that constellation is ruled by Ahir Bhudinya, which has more to do with the diving deeply into the unconscious, the subconscious realms. So I just want to clarify that. And then we finish up with Ravadhi Nakshatra, which shows up early Monday morning in the wee hours. That's the final constellation of the zodiac. Ravadhi is ruled by Pushan, It has to do with ensuring resources and support, gathering resources and support for one's path, for one's journey. So this completion of a cycle is taking place on Monday. So this final week is really about the releasing, the closure, finding some endings, letting go of what needs to be let go of. You'll want to be mindful of what is happening in the mind and the emotions. There's a certain level of criticism and overwhelm that can be taking place right now, and I want to encourage you to come back to gentleness and honoring a simpler way. All the pressure that's been building in Capricorn is really a reminder for more simplicity. And I hope that we can find that as we shift into more of the Aquarian gaze. So let me backtrack a bit because we have several transits this week with major planets. We have Sun moving into Aquarius today, Monday. And let me get a time for you. So around 2:30 this afternoon, Mountain Time, Sun will shift into Aquarius and join Venus there. So just look at your chart, notice where Aquarius is. Because all the accumulated planets in Capricorn are now shifting into Aquarius. And this is significant because, first of all, Saturn gives his gaze, and so does Jupiter and Mars. So we leave some of the intensity only to gain another kind of intensity. More balance is possible. With the gaze through Jupiter and Saturn, that opposition can bring some new level of balance and integration. Remember, Saturn is contraction, Jupiter is expansion. So when those two energies collide, we get more of an integrated, balanced approach. And in any case, Aquarius is more about integrating polarities, opposing forces. Aquarius really speaks to duality. So it'll be a cycle this coming month, mid-February to mid-March, is about finding some balance between opposing forces. By now, you've been identifying that. And you can type into the chat and let me know what some of these, some of the intensity has been for you and what the opposing forces are. You may be noticing this as conflict, inner or outer. You may be noticing a dynamic of I want it, but I'm afraid of it at the same time. So attraction, repulsion. And you may be noticing it in terms of frustration. I want it, but it's not happening. It's not happening fast enough. So there's been a lot of pressure building, and that pressure is going to find some restructuring, some release, and a different way of being in the coming weeks. So today we see that Sun shift into Aquarius, and then Sun moves into close proximity with Venus over the coming weeks, And we go back into this dynamic of possible burnout with life force energy. So really be careful. Do not push, do not force. Saturn will be giving his gaze. So a reminder to attend to grief and go slow. Jupiter is going to bring some wisdom and awareness, so pay attention. Mars may be pushing you to go faster than you should be. So try not to push or force. On Wednesday, we have the new moon, and Mercury shifts to Aquarius at about 3:30 Mountain Time. Mercury will join Sun and Venus here, and again, the gaze of Jupiter, Mars, and Saturn shows up for the mind. Mercury, Sun, and Venus. And the new moon is on Wednesday. I want to give you a time. New moon is in Aquarius, sidereal Aquarius. And Amavasya is at 14:06. That is sorry, it sounds like, yeah, okay, I misspoke. I'm misspeaking all kinds of things today. New moon is actually on Thursday afternoon. New moon is in Aquarius and Dharma Nakshatra. Hi, Christy, welcome. So, moon is colliding with Sun, Venus, and Mercury at the time of the new moon in Dharma Nakshatra. This is a cycle ahead that has a lot to do with speaking your truth and sharing your Dharma. Being seen, being visible for your Dharmic work. And I'll share more about that in my new moon wisdom. I'll probably be writing that tonight and getting out a newsletter for you later this evening. A reminder that Shivaratri, Mahashivaratri, is on Tuesday. And this is a significant turning point in the season. You are likely feeling this, as am I, but there is an extreme silence taking place. It culminates with with Shivaratri, and then of course we move into this new moon, and this is a time of great release, emptying. Shiva brings destruction, and in that process of destruction, release. So there's a great letting go taking place right now. Honor the silence with stillness, with silence, with time alone, with meditation. Don't push too hard. This is one of those still points in the calendar that we really want to honor. They'll be more busy and more activity in the coming days and weeks as we move towards Holi and the fertility festivals. But right now it's very much about stillness and really deepening your inner grounding cord. So don't push past that, and use this time of release and closure to really find your intentions for the days and weeks and months ahead. remember that when Thursday, the full moon, the new moon is the closing of the eclipse portal. And so it's sort of sealing this container that we've been in, where we've been looking more intensely at our personal mythology, especially the emotional body and trust, the feeling level. Emotions have been big, and it's provoking us to look within and look at our needs. So that closure takes place with the new moon and a partial solar eclipse on Thursday, and Shivaratri is really supporting this deep inner silence and turning within. So I encourage you to set that intention. So I just want to check in, see if there are any questions. Looks like my feed is finally loading. And let's see here. Okay, Lisa shares, how long has the Capricorn pressure been building, has been happening, how many weeks and months? Well, months as in at least 6 months in some ways, because Ketu's been in Capricorn, transiting Capricorn for since the fall, and so this has been part of the cracking open. But within the last month specifically, Sun and Venus and then Mercury all showed up, and we've had systematically these planets crossing through this gap with Ketu and getting restructured. So this has been over a month in process. And Lisa shares that Sagittarius is 10th house, and that's the house of offering and career. And yeah. So it sounds like you're referring to your UL, Lisa. And this is something that's unique to Gemini. So if you have a chart from me, you'll see an AL and a UL. The UL is more about the internal process, how you feel about yourself. So AL is in many ways how you're viewed from the outside. And UL is more about how you view yourself from the inside. We can also look at the UL to see, more about your partner, relationships, because we attract from that very unconscious inner level. And so you could think of the UL as kind of our unconscious awareness. Hope that helps. It's in your 10th house, so in Sagittarius, so that is more about how you feel about yourself, more as a Sagittarius. Ashley shares, definitely been feeling heavy grief since the weekend, anxiety, frustration around lack of romance in life. So it sounds like some emotion, heavy emotion and grief is showing up, Ashley, and I would encourage you to keep that moving and really honor those needs and feelings so that you can move some of this grief. I will be offering a public grief ritual. I just did my private client grief ritual, quarterly grief ritual this past week. For those who are not working with me in session, sometimes I offer a public grief ritual, and I will be doing that in the coming weeks. So look for that announcement in the group and also in my newsletter. It's important to have support for this process, and we need to be clearing regularly. Rahu transiting through Cancer right now is really intensifying the reminder for grief release and touching the emotional body very authentically. So I want to encourage you to keep those emotions moving, Ashley, and I'll share some resources with you once we close. I'll type into the comment section. Yes, Sharon, hi, welcome. Same Shivaratri for northern and southern hemisphere. Think of it like a turning point, a still point. Obviously, we're moving towards spring, you're moving towards fall, and so it's just a shift in the energy. Sorry about that. It's a shift in the energy, and no matter what hemisphere you're in or where you are on the planet, Shiva is still part of the support system and nature's intelligence. So enjoy the silence, enjoy that stillness. Hi, Joanna, welcome. So are there any other questions about the new moon, Shivaratri, what's happening in Aquarius? I want to encourage you to look at your chart and notice where Aquarius is. Notice what house. This is where Sun, Mercury, and Venus, and later this week, a moon will be transiting. So just identify what some of those themes are for you. What's the breaking point that will be taking place in your chart? And while we pause here for that, I'm going to shuffle my angel deck. And we will set an intention for the week ahead as we close this eclipse portal and move towards Shivaratri and the new moon. 11th house. So double check that. Sharon, so this is a breaking point happening in your 5th house, your solar plexus, house of power, upper gut, children. Okay, so there's some restructuring and a release process taking place in that part of the chart. Ashley, 11th house. This is the house of release and gains. Okay, so what are you needing to release, and what are you ready to gain? What are you opening to? What are you closing to? Sue, this is very dharmic, 9th house. This process is about really honoring your dharmic process, clearing and releasing in order to gain more clarity. Let's see what shows up. Lisa, 11th house with Sun. Are you sure about that, Lisa? I think it's 12th house for you. So if we're talking about the 12th house, this is a house of endings and letting go, ancestors. Sometimes I remember. I never forget a chart once I see it. Sometimes I need a reminder, but when I look at the chart again, it always comes back to me. Obviously, if I work with someone closely, I have a better time remembering. So, Lisa, remember that ancestral piece. I think that's going to be helpful for you in the coming days and weeks. Clear, let go, and find room for the new. You're welcome to continue to ask questions and share in the chat below. For those of you who are rewatching, catching this replay, I'll share some grief resources in the comment section below. Remember, you can always book a free Dharma coaching session with me if you need a little extra support and resources for the days and weeks ahead. The themes right now really are about touching our emotional body more closely and leaning into our personal mythology around trust. Trust in self, trust in others, trust in the universe. And the restructuring that we've been going through in Capricorn is now shifting, the focus is shifting to Aquarius. So we need to be moving into integration with polarities and healing inner conflict within these polarities. And usually there's some dynamic involved. I want it, but I don't want it at the same time. What's that fear? What's the resistance? It's a good time to lean closer to that. All right, let's pull a card from this Angel Oracle deck. And we'll see what the intention is for the week ahead. Archangel Raphael. And his message is healing. And the healing angel is with you, supporting your healing work. And that's the message from Archangel Raphael. So he's here with us this week to support us in our healing process and our healing work. And hopefully that can give you a little guidance and support for your days ahead. I want to wish you a happy Shivaratri. Honor the silence and the stillness in nature and in her expression right now. Remember to go slow. Don't push too hard. Be gentle with yourself. And move into more awareness of what the polarities are that you're working with. Okay? Let me know questions or needs along the way. And I look forward to seeing you in class or in session. Bye.